Hello, and welcome to another video from 3.5 Archive. Today we're going to be doing another D&D 3.5 Prestige class review, and we're going to be looking at the Champion of Gwynharwyf from the Book of Exalted Deeds. Gwynharwyf is the celestial patron of barbarians, so Champions of Gwynharwyf are barbarians that really embrace the celestial patron of their class, and thus gain various divine powers. So these are almost like barbarian clerics in a way, or barbarian paladins in a way. This has some comparison maybe to the Paladin of Freedom, but it's a prestige class. And you're going to need to have at least one level in barbarian to take it. So it's going to be for barbarians, obviously. Let's take a look at what you need to become a champion of Gwynharwyf. You're going to need to be chaotic good. You need a +6 base attack bonus. You need intimidate 9 ranks. And you need the feats Knight of Stars and Righteous Wrath. Righteous Wrath allows you to inflict a shaken condition on the first evil foe that you hit during your rage, and it also allows you to do non-lethal damage during your rage, which can be nice in some cases where you want to show mercy or at least take a captive for questioning. And Knight of Stars is one of the versions of feats. There's 3 feats like this, one for lawful good, one for neutral good, and this one's the one for chaotic good, that allows you to once per day add a +1 luck bonus to any kind of d20 roll that you make. And it's not a very good feat by itself, but it is a prerequisite for a lot of other feats, and so it's not a terrible idea to take, but you can still look at these 2 feats as kind of taxes of the prestige class. Righteous Wrath a little bit less so, but that's not something you necessarily be taking as a barbarian. It's not a bad feat though, and Intimidate isn't a whole lot to ask for skill rank, so I would still call this prestige class only moderately restrictive. You're really only giving up 1 feat, and it's for a pretty good cause. So what do you get as a Champion of Gwynharwyf? Well, you're going to get a full base attack bonus, a d12 hit die, your rage is going to continue to progress, and you're going to get a good fortitude save. You're also going to get 4+ intelligence modifier skill points per level, with pretty much the same skill list as you had as a barbarian. So for class features, at level 1, you're going to get some spell casting. We'll go into that in a minute. You get the ability to cast Detect Evil at will as a spell-like ability. You can even use this ability while raging. Again, your rage continues to improve. You add your Champion of Gwynharwyf levels to your Barbarian levels to determine, your rages per day. And when you get Greater Rage, Tireless Rage, and Mighty Rage, so that's good. You continue to progress towards those. And you're also going to get Smite Evil once per day. This works pretty much like Smite Evil does for a Paladin. You add your Charisma bonus to the attack roll and do 1 extra damage per Champion of Gwynharwyf level. It's not based on your total character level, so it's going to start from the ground floor here, your Smite Evil. And then at 5th level, you can do it twice a day, and 9th level 3 times a day. So this is a little bit unusual because you're going to need Charisma, but when we look at the spells, the Champion of Gwynharwyf has 4 levels of spell casting. It's accelerated a bit, so you're going to get first level spells at level 1, second level spells at level 3, third level spells at level 5, and fourth level spells at level 7. So it's accelerated progression, which makes sense. But the spellcasting is based off of your wisdom. So this prestige class right away is having the same issue that the 3.5 Paladin had, where the class features were based off of charisma, the spellcasting was based off of wisdom, and your fighting ability was based off of your 3 physical scores, so you were spread pretty thin. We call this multi-ability dependence, but the Paladin takes it to the next level. It's probably the most multi-ability dependent class in the entire game. Monk takes 2nd place for that, but Paladin really takes it to the next level. And while there is a little bit of relief there in the fact that you only need such a good wisdom as a Paladin to be able to cast your 4th level spells, because you're not going to be doing the ones with saving throws. Most of the time it's just going to be buffing yourself, and you don't really care about the saving throw DC. But even so, having to spread your abilities that thin makes it really hard to run a character like this. I mean, the typical spread of ability scores for the standard elite array for a Paladin is generally like something like, either a 14 or 15 in strength, an 8 in dexterity, a 13 constitution, 10 intelligence, 12 wisdom, and then you want to have like a 14 or 15 charisma. And you can switch around dexterity and intelligence depending on how you feel. A lot of people would, and they just give themselves an 8 intelligence. And that makes sense for a barbarian. But even so, not having a good dexterity when you're already stuck with medium armor, and having to have good wisdom, and, not having as good of a constitution as you otherwise would, hurts your character quite a bit. So right off the bat, the Champion of Gwynharwyf has a lot of challenges. And this sort of changes the prestige class maybe from moderately restrictive to highly restrictive, because you do need to build your character around it. You're not going to be able to just jump into this later unless you want to be very bad at the prestige class and miss out on a lot of its features. So from first level right off the bat, we can tell this prestige class has a lot of challenges with it. Let's look at level 2. Level 2, you get Divine Grace, where you add your charisma bonus to your saving throws as per a paladin. You also get Furious Casting, which lets you cast your champion spells even while raging. So you couldn't do that at level 1, but at level 2 you finally get the hang of it. That's assuming, of course, that you got those spells at level 1, because it's a 0 spells per day at level 1, so you would need an exceptional wisdom score, not just an 11, but at least a 12 or better in order to cast even just 1 spell per day. But now you get at least 1, probably 2. Furious Casting is nice. It kind of calls back to something like the Rage Mage prestige class, or from Pathfinder, the Blood Rager base class, which is pretty cool. Divine Grace is nice, but you're not going to get as much benefit out of it as a regular paladin would. At level 3, you're going to get damage reduction 2, with nothing bypassing it, and that's pretty good. You're actually going to come out a little bit ahead on damage reduction if you come into this as a barbarian right after level 6. You will be delayed a bit in starting it, but you will catch up and then actually surpass the barbarian in terms of how much damage reduction you get. That said, damage reduction isn't amazing as a class feature anyway, so you're not going to be getting too much out of this, but it is still good. It's more than you're getting out of base barbarian at least. You're also going to get Resist Enchantment at level 3. This gives you a +2 morale bonus on all saves against enchantment spells and effects. These are the bane of a barbarian. You do get a will save bonus while you're raging, but you don't get a good will save, and while you will have a better wisdom than your average barbarian, you're still going to be pretty vulnerable to enchantment spells that can turn you against your party, and a raging barbarian under the enemy's control can spell doom for your entire party. So this is actually a pretty solid feature, combined with Divine Grace and your good your good bonus to will saves while raging, and better wisdom. You will be a lot less vulnerable to those sorts of spells and effects. So that's a good feature. At level 4, you're going to get Fearsome Fury. When you're entering a rage, you can make an Intimidate check, and any enemy that comes within 30 feet of you while you're raging has to make a will save against your Intimidate check result, and those who fail become shaken for a d4 +1 rounds, or the duration of the rage, whichever is longer. That's a pretty good feature. Making your enemies shaken is really good. You can combine this with other intimidating rage, like the intimidating rage feat, or other similar features or feats that could allow you to make enemies frightened and thus get some control over them there by preventing them from attacking you. So that's an excellent feature. At level 5, you're going to get Energy Resistance 5. You get resistance to acid, cold, and electricity. And then this is going to increase to resistance 10 at level 10. That's pretty nice. These aren't the most common energy types, but you will run into them certainly. So having resistance is good. Then at level 6, at level 5 you also get a second use per day of Smite Evil, as previously mentioned. At level 6 you're going to get damage reduction 3. At level 7 you're going to get immunity to Charm and Compulsion. This is really excellent. This is going to prevent a whole lot of effects from turning you against your party or just stopping you in your tracks. And that's one of the strongest things to do against a barbarian or fighter. So this almost makes the prestige class worth taking by itself. At level 8 you get damage reduction 4. At level 9 you get your third use per day of Smite Evil. And then at level 10 you're going to get damage reduction 5 and energy resistance of 10. So keep in mind that a 16th level barbarian would have damage reduction 4, whereas you as a 16th level character are going to have damage reduction 5. So you are coming out ahead there. You're also going to have your spell casting. Your spells are pretty standard fare for a paladin type. There are some additions from the Book of Exalted Deeds, but unlike the paladin, you don't get supplemental options like the paladin does from other source books. You are going to get stuff like Bull's Strength, Eagle's Splendor, and the like, which will be nice for buffing up your charisma for your smite and for your saving throws. Although you probably will end up just getting a cloak at some point, and as well as a belt of giant strength and that sort of thing. But these can be nice to help shore up your ability scores, which are spread pretty thin by this class. You're going to get stuff like Divine Favor, Bless, Remove Fear. Those are good options. Dispel Magic will be nice if you can find spells of low enough caster level that you'll be able to dispel. Magic Circle against evil, removing blindness and deafness, removing curses. Blood of the Martyr. Death Ward, Dispel Evil, Holy Sword. So you will get some powerful Paladin options, and you will be getting them around the same time that a Paladin would. And if you do build your character with the same ability score spread that you would build for a Paladin, then this does work out fairly well. But the biggest limitation of this Prestige class is just the fact that while it does have a lot of good defensive abilities, as well as some good abilities for your rage and some damage dealing in the form of Smite Evil, it's a little bit weird where it almost feels like you'd want to multi-class with Paladin instead if you were already going through all this trouble. But you do get the spell casting faster, so this is technically better than that. And there is a little bit, of course, of an alignment issue there, unless your Dungeon Master is letting you take Paladin of Freedom. So overall, the Champion of Gwynharwyf is going to get 4 stars for concept, and it's going to get 3 stars for execution. It is pretty average. There's a lot of disparate features here. The improvement overall to your damage reduction is nice, but it is sort of counteracted by the fact that your constitution wouldn't be as good as it would be if you were barbarian, since you have to trade away some of that to make your wisdom and charisma better. So if you look at the fact that you're going to have maybe like 10 or 15 fewer hit points versus having 1 point better damage reduction, unless you're getting hit 15 times before you go down, that damage reduction is not actually helping you overall. The Fearsome Fury is nice if you take something like Intimidating Rage alongside it. As this is technically a little bit different than an Intimidate check to Demoralize, as it's a supernatural ability. So it is different, and it would allow you to potentially stack fear conditions there. The Furious Casting is nice, although you're probably going to want to cast a lot of these spells before combat. And your save DC isn't going to be very good, so offensive spells, for the most part, at least targeted ones, aren't going to be that good. And the Smite Evil, again, will be pretty mediocre, as your charisma is probably not going to be as good as an average Paladin's, but it might be if you decide to really build around this Prestige class. And the Energy Resistance is nice, but situational. And of course, the immunity to Charm and Compulsion is going to be excellent. And while it might not be enough reason to justify taking this Prestige class by itself, it is definitely a very attractive feature that will make you strongly consider taking it. Overall, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this. I mean, yes, while it is good to be shoring up your will saves as a barbarian, there are other ways to do it besides investing a whole lot in your wisdom and charisma to take this sort of pseudo-paladin barbarian prestige class and eventually get that at level 7, where odds are you have a lot of high-level magic that can act as countermeasures to charm and compulsion effects anyway. So that'll be about it for this D&D 3.5 Prestige class review. Champion of Gwynharwyf is good if you like the flavor, and it's certainly a path that you could go, but it's not going to necessarily make you stronger overall. It's sort of a side grade for the Barbarian. You might not notice the downsides of it, as a lower armor class from lower dex and a fewer hit points from lower constitution you could probably shore up. If you get really good rolls on your ability scores, if you're rolling for ability scores, and this is a cool option definitely, it does continue to improve your rage. But as is, it's not necessarily one that you definitely want to take or want to aim for as a barbarian, like a frenzied berserker might be, although that prestige class is a whole other can of worms. So, thanks for watching another D&D 3.5 Prestige class review. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and so on. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time here on 3.5 Archive.